kura hohaia taku ingoa. He uriau no pariaka, no teikaroa. Nō reira nau mai haere mai ki tēnei o ngā noninga kumu, kui maha koroma o pariaka hoki. This is a coastal kāinga associated with pariaka for growing kumara and also for fishing. My uncle, he just said to me one day, "You're the kaitiaki here, boy." And that's always stuck with me. It's just a sense of responsibility to my old people and to the environment. We're at the mouth of the Waitekore. The Waitekore is a critically threatened stream. For a small waterway like this, you've got effluent, of course, nitrogen runoff, you've got water extraction, and also you've got much of the Waitekore remains unfenced. Instead of being called streams, they've become drains. These modifications on modifications occur that distort that the manga ever had a natural course, that the manga ever chose its own path. Some of the other issues that face the Waitekore are that because it's a smaller waterway, the concentrations of chemicals and toxins manifest themselves in a much more obvious way once the water level drops. So we really saw that in 2017, summer of 2017-18, when the tuna died here and the water level totally stopped flowing through the boulder bank. All of the water turned oily black and the tuna died. It was terrible. It felt to me like they were crying out for help. Help me, brother. Awhina tia mai. The disease, I'll call it nothing short, the disease of piping and drainage needs to be stopped. The fishing space is our greatest platform, and the kai space gives us our greatest voice. It always has, because it's so connected with everything going on. I don't know the last time I actually caught a tuna to eat here in this rohe, because really we don't know the status of the stock. For too long we've let Western science kind of push us and our mātauranga to the side. Really, it's just about bringing the humanity back into the conversation, because ultimately I think the theme, whether it's tuna or whether it's karaka, is that it's the rangatira kai. And so rangatira kai deserves rangatira status. Fishing is our greatest platform in terms of having a say about our environment, because it's mai rāno. It places us within our context as farmers of water. I know intuitively, and I know enough about our whakapapa connections that say that we are a brother, we are a sister to those tuna. Climate change and how it's affecting the Waitekore, definitely it comes back to the lack of resilience the stream now has to deal with these surges and weather events around dry periods. Instead of these areas being like a sponge and allowing for resilience in dry periods, and more water to be held back, the current farming process allows for them to be drained and piped to create more money, because grass is grown on top. And so the only thing that looks healthy is the bank balance. Farmers and farming needs to work with the natural environment, not against it. We need to stop pushing our streams underground, because it's creating waimate, dead water. For me, it's crying out for the mana that it deserves. I challenge the Regional Council to show me what data they've got on our stream and what they've done to stop any more development or extraction of water. I just think that the legislation is outdated. It never took into account Māori communities in the first place. It never took into account our parihaka seafood harvesting traditions or our parihaka tuna harvesting traditions. None of those considerations were taken into place at all. The greed and need for money is outweighing the value that we are placing on our smaller waterways. It's open slather on our waterways. We really have to factor in our wairua into every decision that we make. Yeah, there it is, it speaks for itself. That's how well we're doing.
Tēnā tātou, to break my nerves. Okay, kia ora no tātou whānau. Ko Ngapera Rangiaho ahau, ko hikurangi te maunga, ko Rangitaiki te awa, ko pati heuheu me Ngāti haka nā hapu, ko hapu, ko tūhoetaki iwi take take. Tēnā koutou katoa. My kaupapa is just a bit of background context for Kokopu Trust. Kokopu Trust was created to help transport tuna over the dams. That's our mahi. Bill was our last bastion for doing that, just for the dam, but there were so many other growers who were very passionate about doing this mahi. In his passing, and those of you who know Bill, I always used to say to him, have you got a succession plan? Don't worry about it, girl. Got it all sus. Those challenges faced us. And so my kaupapa is really around succession planning, of unlearning, relearning, and resetting ourselves. It's sharing a story of loss and navigating a space of gaps and reconnecting those gaps to become a whole working system. When we unlearn assumptions, we unlearn complacencies, but then we relearn responsibilities and we reset our behaviours around those responsibilities. Carwin is Bill's brother. He could not be here today. He sends his apologies. It's part of Carwin and Bill's mokopuna whare Kiriama. Carwin has to keep an eye out on the Batihina Dam. They're doing some earthworks over there, and I've said to them, you need to be there to make sure that if they're going to move anything, that we put it back, because our upstream season will be coming, and if they don't get it right, then there's going to be a lot of trouble. So that's where Carwin has been during our conference. Dina? Okay. Dina? Okay. Yeah. Our landscapes, our pepeha, our whakatauki, our pūrākau become indicators of our changing world. So my pepeha is ko hiku rangitaku maunga tapu, ko te Rangitaiki taku awa tapu, ko pati hea me Ngāti haka nā hapu pauname, ko waihekeheke te pito taku ao, ko tūhoetaki iwi take take. It's a pepeha, it's a statement confirming our relationships with the majestic mountains, pristine waters, sacred landscapes, where whānau and hapu are likened to precious greenstone. According to our traditions, our narratives, the naming of waihekeheke is attributed to the rumbling and rolling stones tumbling through the waterfall, which is heard throughout our whāria. For us back in the days, that was the warning system, kia matara tātou nā hapu, kei te hara mai te marangai. And to prepare our marae, be alert. Our treasured memories captured within this pepeha. So, hikurangi a mauna, it faced the state of the whenua now reveals a scarred maunga through land development, swollen rivers through dams, and the effects of an ever-changing environment. And then we work with power companies to navigate those dams. And the thing with these power companies, so here's our environment. There we are. We have our Rangitaiki River, we have 7 iwis on there. It was possible through the treaty settlement of Ngāti Whare Ngāti Manua. And that rōpū is called the Rangitaiki River Forum. I represent Tūhoe on that forum. As you can see, between the 2 dams is our little whārua, Waihekeheke. Not only do we have a responsibility because it is a power station, but all of our whānau live down below those dams. And so we kind of have a responsibility to ensure that we keep an eye out on those, on what they're doing up at the dams. But here's the thing, whānau, and it resonated through our conference. The thing that had happened was, and how I ended up getting involved with this was, my hapu had received a document about this thick, and it was a resource consent, and they sent it to me. And I said, well, what's going on? They says, girl, you need to have a look at this because you're the only one who can read. And I says, oh, far out. Hey, but I read it anyway. And I said, okay then. And it needed a response the following week. And I said to the chair, well, how long have you had this puka for? And he's got, about 3 months. But you'll be all right. So what happened was I read this thing, and in true fashion style, we use Google and we use YouTube and to see how ke nā hua o nā kōrero I roto I taua puka. I rang up to the power company and I said, oh, let's have a meet. So haere ahau ki te tūtaki rātau and to go meet him. And even on the reception, when he came down and he greeted me, it was like looking me up and down. And he says, okay, so my office is upstairs. And I said, I'd love a cup of tea. And so he kind of paused and he went, oh, sorry, yeah, let's go make a cup of tea. The receptionists are now staring, they go, where's your camera, take a photo, what are you fellas doing? He doesn't make a cup of tea for anyone. Oh, okay, then, well, I should appreciate that cup of tea. So we went up to the office. And he looked at me and he says, so, how can I help you? And I says, oh, can you tell me what this document is about? And in true fashion, he explained this document to me in the same jargon that it was written in. And when he finished, he looked at me and he says, so, do you have any questions? And I said to him, well, yes, I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to translate your kōrero into a language our people understand because we're visual people. And I just need to find out whether I've got it right. And so that threw him back. And I said, so what you are saying is PowerPoint. This is how I do PowerPoint for our hapu. And I said, so what you're saying is that this is the level of the lake and this is the weeds under the lake. And so you need to lower the level of the lake so the weeds are over the top and the sun is going to kill the weeds. Is that what you're saying? Yes. So my concern is that when you lower the water so low that you may have pockets of stagnant water, and you see the lake is next to a campsite. So I'm just thinking, and on the national news, there was a warning system or a warning that the Zika mosquito could be in New Zealand. So I'm thinking, are you creating a breeding ground for the Zika mosquito? Mosquitoes and people. But wait, there's more. So, when you look at the Rangitaiki, which is the purple, it's a heavily populated dairying community. Then I go to him Because now I'm thinking mosquitoes, people, cows. I'm sure they used to have something in the past around introduced diseases that harm our population. Now he's gone a bit pale. So I said to him, well, I'm sure you've got this under control. And I said to him, let's do a site visit. And he goes, oh, no, I got your letter, stakeholders letter. You're happy to call a meeting and have a site visit. Let's do that. We organised a date. I said, see you on the 10th, and walked out. 10 minutes later, Bill rings me and he goes, hey, where are you? And I said, well, I'm walking into Hong Kong now. I'm going for a pay. Why? And he goes, well, I've just received the weirdest phone call. Oh, hey, what? And he says, I've got a call from Wellington, the CEO of Nova Energy. Hey, what did they want? They're talking about an investigation into mosquitoes. Do you know anything about it? Hey, I want to show you my PowerPoint. But inside of our impacts, if you have a look at the Rangitaiki and our tuna, yes, they have many places to go to, but we also have our forest on the other side, our exotic forest, and also our natives. So those are the things that we have to navigate. And then how do we responding to impacts? So responding to impact is when we unlearn and relearn, then we reset our purposes. We adjust our behaviours to adapt to our environment. And we had to identify, because the boys go into the downstream, they're working in some rugged weather, and I just needed to make sure that they were safe. It was the first time they had proper training in years. And so we were able to get that done with the boys. Because one of the things we need to do is that identify training that we need to keep each other safe and reminding ourselves of our own vulnerability to nature, which requires respect to ensure we get our morihu, our morihu tuna, over the dams, because they are led by an ancient blueprint that keeps them returning to our waterways and returning back to sea. That's their nature. So here's naturalising research. We don't need no... this tuna is a 34-year-old longfin, and I'm really happy to say that at the time the boys who Bill called a couple of brothers found this tuna. Was just below the dam, and pēnā ki te ahu tana mahina pa kare anu tana tina nei neke. And he rings me, yo, you got to come over home. And so he had it displayed out on his kitchen bench like that. And I said, koe, it looks like you want me to take a photo. And he goes, yes, but in the middle one you can see he was showing me the bruising and where it was broken. And then I said to him, well, how big was this tuna? Because now it's gutted and everything. And he lifts up that doily thing. And he goes, this big. It's this big. And he goes, why? And I says, because when I'm talking to those dam peoples and those regional people, they talk to me in science. They talk to me in formula. So I just need to know how big this tuna is. The mokopuna comes in. And he goes, there, ask the mokopuna. She loves science. And I said to her, she goes, what you up to, auntie? And I said, trying to measure how big this tuna was. And you know, she casually looks at me and she goes, oh, that's easy, auntie. That's pi times radius equals circumference. Yeah, but you lost me there. Hey. But she did the measurement, and it was able to help because it was exactly those same questions that the council image as well. How did you get to that size of the tuna? Here we go. But what was more important was the sharing of knowledge between koro and its mokopuna. Hey? And that's what was more important inside of that. And now our research looks like this, collaborative research. This was last month, because the fight is not so much how much we get over the dams, which is a significant amount, but how much can we get back to the moana? And that's our big challenge. And sometimes it's the attitude too that comes with those challenges. There's Professor Shark Bay. I met Shark with Bill, so it was good to have him there. Up in the middle photo, you can see it's what they call a Arcadean screw. It awhis the tuna up this thing. And, well, it looked impressive when we went to go and have a look, hey? But in its reality, it's not ideal. The next one we have on the end is a ladder. And so that's why Carmen is in here. He's organising that. But even the attitude of when I'm engaging with the architect designers, you know, when I saw that, I says, where did you get your design from? And I said, have you seen the trapping station? And they said, no, we haven't. Trying to understand their thinking. So I took them down to the trapping station. You see, when we transfer, our tuna has plywood, you know, they have a marine carpet. And so when we scoop them up gently. But the whakaaro of the dams are that the less contact you make with them, the better. And I says, that's why you're so disconnected to the iwi. Hey. Because we don't treat our tipuna. The tuna isn't a species, it's our morihu tipuna. Hey. So, and then, and I see the story that we can tell as a trust is when we look at our trapping station, it expresses love and our respect to our tuna. When I look at your steel and your plastic, the only story you're telling is that you're cold and fake. Hey, who wants to invest in that story? Hey, so it's getting past those the barriers are the attitude and the dams, they come with the dams. Oh my God, 38 seconds, I don't want to look at that time now. Just about finished though, whānau. Collaborative relationships. Throughout the conference I've been hearing we need to work with council, we need to look at the policies. Ka tika, whatever we need to do, let's do it, you know. But do it carefully and with honour, I would say. So I like to use the humble poi. I love the poi. I can't swing the poi, but I like it. But when you're sitting at the table talking to fisheries and, you know, and they want to be helpful, but it sounds like they want to take over the world as well. And so they're trying to figure out, how do we have a relationship? You know, we really want to help everyone. And I have my poi. And then I explain to them what their role is. And I said, te mahuna o te poi are our philosophies. Those are our values. Those are our principles that only we know. The taura of our poi are our multiple strands to address our multiple issues. And in order to do that, we need to have a wānanga. And so within that wānanga, we whakawhiti kōrero. That's the engagement and communications. We wete kōrero. We identify how kena take. What are those issues? Ti hai kōrero. You know, have a look at it, but do a 3D thing, because everyone's usually look alike, and you can have a look on the side. Oh, there's another angle. Let's tiro ki tēnā. And then whakakapi kōrero. We've come to agreements. Hey, that looks all right. And then whakatau kōrero. Me mahi te mahi. Might have to test trial it. And so ka kia te kia rata, I say to them, so your role is to provide us with the resources. Hey, that's your role. Because only we can eat this. And then I look at, so, e hukauka nei. This isn't intended for us, it's intended for the future, because their dynamics may look different, and so it will be them telling that story. So when I talk to these power companies in their little paku room, you know, what we need to remember though, whānau, is what we need to remember is that at the end of the day, who is controlling that poi? Okay? Because nā tātou tēnei taonga, nā tātou e mōhio me pēa ki te whakamai, ki tā arehi, nā kaupapa. I think I'm finished. Hang on. So our pūrakas are really good, and we must continue them, because what does succession plan look like? It is with our babies, with our mukupunas, eh? This park was made in honour from the Galatea community, and some of our designers were from our Ngāti Manawa whānau. Hei whakaako ki ngā tamariki haere ana ki te tākoro ki tawa wāhira. And that's some of the spaces have to navigate, because Bill's whānau, unbelievably, are really, really shy. Yeah. And so, nō reira whānau, I suppose when we could keep ki te whakakapi nei kōrero. What I like about our mokopunas are things that are simple, and some of those things are held in our waiata. So I'll whakakapi tēnei kōrero o tētahi waiata. Te kohana is just a segment of the waiata. And it goes, ka mau tonu au e te koro waia ki tīpuna. Hine pū ko hurangi, he nā tōnei a papatua nuku, rangi nui. Ka mau tonu au i te koro waia ki tīpuna. Kia ora.